Hello everyone, Z-Trot here, and welcome back to the Mania World Cup 4-Key Edition Map Pool Showcase. We're going to be looking at the quarterfinal map pools, with Chinese restaurant being our first pick. This tests mostly everything you could think about when it comes to long note reading. The first quarter of this chart is going to be filled with mostly long note releases that don't have very easy visual cues, making them really hard to time. While some of the releases are intuitive if you play enough long note charts, most of the releases here are not. The chart difficulty is not going to let up for the most part either. At the Kai section, the chart's going to introduce split jump trills mixed with long notes, which are absurdly difficult to read. There are also a couple of shield and inverse sections, which are uncommon and difficult long note configurations, which will throw off any inexperienced long note player. This is a very likely ban if the team is not very strong with their long note ability. And with our next pick, we're going to be looking at Rave 7. Now, this could potentially be a speed pick for the losers bracket teams and an accuracy pick for the winners bracket teams. The chart starts off with two 300 BPM streams, 20 notes per second we're talking about, but it's pretty easy patterning, though it has a long trill in the middle of each stream, which could trip up some players. The second half of this chart is a lot more versatile in patterning, with lots of rigged transitioning into mini jacks, split heavy patterning with short 1/8 rolls. While these patterns are not very hard to combo, they are very hard to SS with good rainbow accuracy, even more so with an overall difficulty of 9. The chart gets even harder to time in the last 20 seconds. They're really going to have to keep their wits about them if they want to make a good accuracy on this one. And with our third no-mod pick, we're going to be looking at Camellia Ultimate Ascension. Easy to hit, very hard to time properly as a whole, and one of the hardest charts to time in the entire map pool. While most of the chart has jump streams, the nature of the chart changes erratically, sometimes including a jump stream run, then a couple of 1/8 bursts, then a jump stream complemented with short long notes, and so on. It's crazy, right? It's not entirely possible to figure out what's going on in the chart, though. If you only focus on the areas that you're bad at and work from there, you can hope for the best and possibly get a good score. There are many small SV sections to the point where they cannot be mesmerized, which can mess up good accuracy runs. This could be a possible ban for teams who are weak at accuracy, and a counter ban for very similar reasons. And our third no mod pick is going to be Gypsy Gets the Tech. Now this is a stamina speed hybrid chart, guys. The chart's going to start out with about a 215 BPM jump stream with a very comfortable pattern, but it can be mind blockable if you gloss it over. The second stream is going to enter in sometime after the first jump stream with a vengeance, introducing triples into the jump stream and occasionally having polyrhythms, although these are kind of easy to time, which can be very mind blockable though. The chart speeds up to about 230 BPM, ramping it up to the hardest with the same polyrhythm pattern like in the 215 BPM section, halfway into the second stream. This could very well be the hardest part of the chart speed-wise, but still manageable to get good accuracy on. This will probably be a favorite for most teams due to the patterning, but this can be a viable ban if the players get mind blocked on the chart. And for our fourth pick, we are looking at Le Fruit de Findu. This is an SV/LN chart. Now, though despite I gave two descriptions for this chart, this is one of the easier charts in the map pool, trust me, making this a general accuracy pick. Most of the long note releases in this chart are incredibly easy, but there are some sections of jump stream that are almost entirely made out of long notes, which can be quite difficult to time. This also contains SVs that are not entirely sight readable, such as ones that speed up and also slow down in the second half of the first Kai section, which can potentially make or break a round for this song. Fortunately, these SVs can be very easily learnt in one or two attempts. There's also a long 1/4 one-hand trill present right before the Kai section as well, which could potentially trip up multiple players. We'll have to see how this one fares going forward. And looking for our fifth pick, we are going to be looking at Depravity Climax, an extremely jack-heavy chart with multiple short, dense jump stream sections. The main saving grace of this is its 222 BPM, which makes it a little bit easier and quite manageable to hit through. The chart does contain a good amount of 1-3 jacks, however, albeit they do have very easy patterning combo-wise, but it is a bit difficult accuracy-wise. The dense jump stream sections are a bit difficult to get good accuracy at due to their rolly nature. The chart climaxes about 3/4 into the way, starting with the jump jacks and dense jump stream bursts, and then the 220 BPM hand stream and the dense jump stream. This one will be a viable ban for those who are weak at speed. But there are other viable bands as well, as this one isn't as hard as it possibly could be. A good one to see moving forward. And our next pick is going to be Ryoshi no Umi no Lindrum. This is a jack-based chart with the occasional long note section. The jacks are also faster than the previous mentioned Depravity Climax by a considerable amount. The jacks in this are 140 BPM, whereas Depravity had 111 BPM jacks. The main saving grace is that the jack patterns are very easy to hit, albeit hard to time. Some of the jack patterns are essentially consecutive split jump trills, which could slip players up if they're not too familiar with how to approach patterns like those. The Kai sections contain a long note section, though nowhere near as hard as the other long note charts that we're seeing so far in the map pool. This is a viable band for teams that might be a little bit weak at jacking, although a very good pick for those who are strong. Only time will tell how often we see this one picked. And for our next pick, we have Foolish Hero. And this one, guys, is SV galore. Any player who's playing this on their first or second attempt will get slaughtered. There's no exceptions. The SVs in this are not sight readable by any means. And since there's so many and they create so many significant effects, it'll be very hard to get through this. It also contains lots of slowdowns and speed ups. As a result, it requires some of the biggest time investment needed to perform well in this map pool. The main saving grace is that the SV aside, this chart is quite easy, and the structure of the track is quite repetitive, making it easy to predict when the SVs are after some time on the editor. Most of the SVs do get toned down a lot after the first half as well, to the point where most players can probably be able to perform these at close to their standard performance with no time investment needed. This would be a very common ban for most teams, but as the map pool tests so many skills, some teams might have to bite the bullet and put some time investment into this chart. Moving on to our next pick, we have She Runs. Now this could very well be a stamina pick for losers bracket teams and a technical pick for winner bracket teams. The chart's almost entirely made of broken jump stream 3 to 9 long note bursts for 4 minutes. It can get crazy. The patterns here are trilly as well, which makes stamina expenditure a must, as you cannot manipulate any patterns to recover. Patterns also get harder at the end. Not very easy to time as well, despite the trilly nature of the chart, due to a good amount of mini LNs and 1/8 bursts scattered all over the chart. This will most likely be a ban for teams who are weak at stamina, and one of the more common bans this round. And moving to our next one, we are going to be looking at Playtime. Now, this is a consistency / long note hybrid here, guys. This chart contains a lot of long notes, which almost all of them contain very intuitive releases. However, it is the quantity that messes players up, since the 1/3 of the chart is filled with long notes. Similar to Chinese Restaurant, there are also multiple jump streams that are littered with long notes that make the chart quite difficult to read through if you're not used to the chart or long notes in general. The difficulty of the chart just doesn't come from the long notes themselves, though. There are some patterns that make for rough transitions, which are hard to time. Examples would include the transitions from a mini jack into a chord and a 1/8 burst with a long note in the mix. The hardest parts of this chart are the extended jump streams complemented with long notes, the long note only section at the end, and some very short long notes scattered all over the chart. This one should be quite fun to watch our players play on, though. I'm looking forward to it. And with our first free mod pick, we'll be looking at Summon Beast Battle. This chart mainly tests holistic cohesion and long note releasing ability. The first quarter contains staccato long notes, which players will have to let go of the long note almost immediately in order to get a rainbow judgment. This is a very split heavy after the staccato section, with very little 12 or 34 chords in sight. The chart starts out with a couple of broken jump streams with medium difficulty long note releases. The chart then introduces longer dense jump streams through the long notes are removed for that section. The patterns are still pretty split heavy though. The chart will climax when some of the dense jump streams become chords and they're embedded with long notes as well, which will require players to do some temporary long note balancing. This one should be really interesting to see as we go forward. Moving on to our next one, we have Palette Gamma. This is the hardest speed chart in the free mod pool with a decent margin, with many of the streams being at 270 BPM. The main saving grace of this chart is that the patterns are very easily hit, and the streams have small breaks in between them. The Kai section introduced very sparse doubles into the jump streams, and breaks between streams become less intuitive, making them potentially harder to time. Scores on this chart will be considerably worse than any other map in the map pool, and FL is viable mod to use in this chart because it's consistent rhythm-wise, and the stream patterns like this are usually quite difficult to time, especially with hard rock. This might be a very strong ban candidate for weaker teams, and a potential ban candidate for stronger teams with poor accuracy. And for our third free mod pick, we have the Bird's Poison Bathwater. This is one of the easiest charts in the map pool speed-wise, and this is with notable distance from the other charts. Despite the speed being very low, it's one of the harder charts to time in the pool, even more so since it's in the free mod bracket. The nature of this chart is very sporadic, not having very many solid rhythms at all, mainly fast bursts, and the bursts can range from manageable 1/8 to super hard, really hard to time 112 bursts. However, these are smoothly patterned, and most of the bursts come in isolation. They become extra difficult when multiple bursts are strung at once. I don't really see this one being a viable ban, as it can be a counterban for teams who are good at these types of charts. But the nature of this chart is very unique compared to any other chart in Mania due to its formless structure. FL is certainly most not viable here due to the sporadic nature of the chart. Hopefully we'll get to see this one played, and if we see Flashlight used, it will be very interesting. And moving on to our final free mod pick, we have commalifegame. This chart tests a variety of skills like long notes and mini jacking ability, and this chart mainly tests jump stream consistency. The intro contains a 1/6 to a 1/8 roll, which will trip up almost all teams. Teams who can manage to double S through that pattern on Hard Rock will have a major advantage over other teams for this song. The meat of the chart are the jump stream runs and the choruses. which contain mainly easy-to-time patterning due to a noticeable anchor presence. The patterns are lenient. The guitar solo is quite notably the hardest part of the chart to time, filled with many long notes and 1/6 bursts at the end of the guitar solo. Players will really have to keep their wits about them in order to double S this one, but players that can will have a definite advantage. Hopefully we'll see a lot of this one played, but only time will tell. And we have our tiebreaker now, the battle at Mammoth Mountain. This is an accuracy tiebreaker, primarily testing streams, but also jackings. Now, due to the very dynamic nature of the song, the nature of the chart changes considerably as well. There is a 45-second long 1/6 stream to the start of the chart. Not necessarily difficult to combo, but timing is a nightmare if you have no frame of reference on how to approach the stream. It's also notably jack heavy. One of the notable sections that are jack heavy is the intro. Though the patterns are quite lenient compared to some of the other jacks in this chart, other sections, which contain many long jacks, is the gap between the second and third Kai section and the fourth Kai section. This also contains multiple 1/8 short streams with non-straightforward patterning. It's easy to get good at accuracy, but hard to combo if you don't have the speed. Last but certainly not least about this map, it has a 1/8 short stream section. You enter a long stream section around the fourth Kai with patterns that are essentially rolls, which are easy to combo, but a nightmare to time. You would then have to do an extended 1/6 triple roll that changes directions, which is just as hard to time as long as a 1/8 stream, if not even harder. This one is going to put all of our contestants up to the serious limit. Hopefully we'll be able to see this tiebreaker as things heat up in the quarterfinals. That'll be all for the Mappools Showcase, but stick tuned while we go over some of the round of 16 things that happened this week. All right, and that is our Mappools Showcase, everybody. Now, we are still going to go over a few things that has happened today. We hope you guys enjoyed that Mappools Showcase. I know I'm pretty hyped to see all the players play on that next week. I don't know who all's still here with me. Tasha, do we still have you? And
you have me.
All right, we've got a deadbeat, and I think we might have a slain still as well. That being said, let's kind of get into a few things that actually happened this week during the round of 16. One of the first things we'll go over is let's look at some of the maps that were actually picked. So our top pick would probably be Trickstars. It was the most picked, 7 picks and only 1 ban. It was the only ban coming from Australia, actually. Now, see, that would make that almost a perfectly played map with 100% pick rate, except for that 1 ban that we saw. Now, Sound of Summer and Straub were both picked up to 6 times, coming in second there. Calamity Fortune was picked a total of 5 times. 75% of the picks were no mod, with 25% of them being free mod. Liber Fatale was the most banned with 5 bans overall. Rewrite Nightmare had the highest average accuracy of 99.73%, even though it was only picked once by the United Kingdom. And Straub was a close second with 99.69%. All right. Fascination Max got the short end of the stick with an average accuracy of 98.57. And we'll go over some team information though. South Korea's average accuracy throughout the entire round of 16 was 99.97%, guys. Now, United Kingdom was in second with a 99.88% in overall accuracy. And what's really crazy here is United States was third with 99.84, and they are the team to beat this year, so they really need to kind of bring that up. Only 3 teams had about an average accuracy of below 99%. So this thing is absolutely nuts. Let's go over the entirety of the matches in total for this week. We had, starting off at the very beginning of the round of 16, we had Singapore versus South Korea, which was a crushing win for South Korea, Singapore not being able to take a single point. Our second match was Australia versus France. Now, this one went 1-5 in favor of France. Australia was able to get 1 point, but they just weren't able to stop France. Our third match of the day was Switzerland versus Japan, which was a 0-5 in favor of Japan. Switzerland just couldn't get on the board. They tried their best, but Japan was just too strong. Our next match was Malaysia versus the United Kingdom. Now, Malaysia gave it their best, but was only able to take 1 point off the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom cleared it out with a 5-1. And then the next match after that was Chile versus Indonesia, which Chile gave it a good shot, but they just weren't able to overtake Indonesia, losing 2-5 in favor of Indonesia. The next match after that was Brazil versus Sweden. Brazil winning that in a crushing defeat on Sweden 5-0. Then, kind of an unexpected turn of events, Canada versus Poland went 0-5 in favor of Poland. I was for sure Canada was going to be able to get some points there, but unfortunately they just weren't able to contest. And then our last match that we just got done watching was the United States versus Argentina. And although Argentina gave it their best, they just were no match for the United States, losing in a clean sweep. Now remember, guys, as this tournament is double elimination, we do not have to worry about these teams going anywhere, as there will be a loser bracket and a winner's bracket. So we will begin to start seeing the round of 8 matches, or the quarterfinals, next week, and we'll see all these teams there. But of course, now we're going to start to see teams disappearing. There will be no more rematches, and staying in the winner's bracket is definitely your main goal.
Can I just point one thing out? We should be thankful for Halogen for actually picking up Marvel Soda, because otherwise we would never have seen it.
Yeah, very much so. Marvel Soda almost had a
so glad.
Yeah, it had a 0 play rate.
My stats feels good. I'm actually still amazed that South Korea had such a high average accuracy. 99.97. That's nuts.
That's quite impressive. What was the USA's one?
99.84. Yeah, 99.84.
Yeah, very much so. So real quick, guys, now that we've seen the matches gone on today and we know who's going forward, what are some predictions? Let's get some pre-week predictions. We haven't seen anything outside of the players. They just now got the map pool, so they have to practice on that. What are your predictions just going into this?
I don't think She Runs is going to get picked that much. Going off a lot of other things, I don't think mania players seem to favor playing the longer maps.
Yeah, I agree there. I kind of see She Runs probably being a viable ban pick.
I don't know if it'll get banned, I just don't think it'll get picked. I think players will probably want to favor a few other maps getting banned out. I'm just not entirely sure which yet. I mean, to me, like, most of this stuff, or all of it, is well above my skill bracket, so I can't tell exactly which is the really nasty stuff yet.
I mean, if you're speaking about nasty stuff, you might want to take a look about Foolish Hero, because if you're not very used to SV changes, you are going to be through hell.
Oh yeah, if you can't play SV changes, you're not going to have fun.
That being said, quick question here. Who do you feel is going to stay in the winner's bracket for next week?
France.
Who's trying to fuck me?
Slame definitely has, that patriotism. Definitely holding on France.
I have
And
no
that is
bias.
not-
Oh,
No,
no, I
no.
don't think France are going to get through. I'm sorry. I think it's Poland. I'm going Poland there. Alright, so we'll have, probably UK.
South Korea, Japan too.
Ooh.
That would be an interesting match.
I'm looking at States vs Brazil.
Yeah, that should be pretty interesting, in all honesty.
I think I'd favor the United States on that one. Japan Korea is going to be a monster of a match, but I've got to give that one to Korea. Korea just dominated this map pool way too hard.
Very much so. I feel like the ones that will stay in the winner's bracket is definitely South Korea. If the United States can make it happen, they'll try to make it happen, but I can't guarantee it, especially seeing as, even though I said they're monsters, when you look at the stats, they did kind of underperform today. It's not so much under, a bad sense. They did incredibly well, but with their basic averages, it feels like they did underperform a little bit. They were the 3rd rated in accuracy, and that is a little bit on the rough side. So, things are definitely heating up getting into the quarterfinal matches, and hopefully we'll be able to see this go on next week, and we should have schedules out within a reasonable time frame.
Like today or tomorrow.
Yeah, that's about what I assume. Outside of that, does anyone have any fan hopefuls? I already know Slane's Team France, and I'm definitely holding the United States up high. We'll get it out there one more time, guys, as well. The banners are live now. If you check around and you're starting to notice seeing Mania World Cup banners on some of your friends' profile pages, it is because they are starting to support it. You can find the link to that down below. You can go ahead and support whatever team you wish to win, and if they manage to make it through and take that first place, you will keep that flag held a little bit higher, just for a little bit longer. Definitely get that out. Remember, all proceeds do go towards funding the tournament's prize pool, so that definitely not only helps the players out, it helps you out by showing that you support. You get a cool little profile image up there, and it's fun for everybody, in all honesty. That being said, I think I'm pretty much out of predictions at this moment. I feel like US, South Korea, Poland, and United Kingdom are really dangerous teams, and whoever they get matched up against is going to be a rough ride.
Yeah, I think those 4 teams are probably going to make it through the upper bracket next weekend. I think they're pretty safe fit.
All right,
I was going to say, I think that's it from us now.
Yeah, that being said, guys, remember, we'll be back next week for the quarterfinals, and remember to stay subscribed to the OS Live Twitch to find out all the coming up World Tournament matches as they continue. The wiki's always full of information, and you can always check on that. And remember, guys, Rhythm's only a click away, and we'll see you all next week.